Podcast, February live panel. Very exciting panel today as we are going very international with Justine from the USA, Hayley from the United Kingdom, and of course, John and myself here in, well, warm Canada today, right, John? After yesterday and the day before.
Yeah.
Just going to go around the horn and let everybody give themselves a brief introduction in case you don't know anyone yet. Let's get right into it. Yeah, Justine, go for it.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Hi, everyone. My name is Justine. I am on Twitter as Miss Financial Fit and Instagram as Miss Financial Fitness. Super excited to be here. I'm a former ESL teacher turned certified financial educator. And so I'm out there in schools talking about personal finance and helping people really just elevate their financial journey. So super excited to be here.
Awesome. Yeah, we're definitely going to get into that shortly. John, I think you would agree, ladies first. So we'll let Hayley introduce herself as well. And we are paired to Hayley's channel. So welcome to all of Hayley's audience as well here on the Passive Income Podcast.
Cool. Well, yeah, I'm Hayley from the UK. Got into investing 2020 and have been on my own dividend journey specifically about the last year or so. So super excited to be here and just talk to you guys who are also on a similar journey. So very excited. And
John, I don't know if we need introduction for John. Maybe for some of Hayley's viewers we do, but John, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah. Oh no!
My name is. My Lord. Tell me when I'm back. Am I back?
You're back.
Okay. So I was saying, not knocking Warren Buffett or Charlie Munger, but this has got to be the best looking group of dividend investors I have ever seen gathered together in one place at one time.
Poor Warren.
Oh yeah. Yes. But they are gods and idols in this space. Of course, I'm being facetious. I kneel at their mastery of dividend investing. I've been at this for about 20 years, a lot of failure before getting into the life hack cheat code of dividend investing. So many mistakes along the way with the stock market and trading and whatnot, but finally found something through a mentor that works. And now, it's my mission to share with as many people in the world as possible how to create an ATM of dividend money in their living room.
Oh, I love it.
Awesome. Yeah. Before we get any further into this, I do have to give a shout out to Patrick, who you can find on Twitter at @allcapsfinance, who sent me these incredible t-shirts. I'm going to move my microphone out of the way just so you can see the t-shirt he sent me, the Passive Income Posse. So thank you so much. Thank you so much to Patrick, who also sent me this one, which I'm not sure if we'll be able to see. Oh yeah, dividends, just hashtag dividends with a little stack of coins on the end. So thank you so much, Patrick, for sending me these t-shirts. And with that said, let's just get into talking about different topics in the dividend investing environment, and sort of I've got questions for different people. I know that John was wanted to talk to Hayley about the one video on her channel. So do you want to start there, John, with that one video? I think we've all watched it now.
Man, you're really putting him on the spot. That was 2 months ago. I remember it at the time.
Come on, John, what did I say?
Yeah, was it about sort of the juxtaposition of sort of dividend investing stocks versus sort of growth stocks along that kind of thing? Yeah, I guess. Hayley, I just would like to know your approach. For me, I've always thought, and I'm not knocking the Apples of the world, Microsofts, Google, stuff like that. These are awesome cash flowing, cash producing companies. I guess sort of my question is, and sort of my approach, how it differs is kind of when you buy these growth stocks, you're kind of hoping and praying that someone pays more for the shares than you did. Otherwise, you don't get that cap appreciation. Whereas with dividend stocks, that pay that 3.5% to 5%, on average, you're getting that cash flow, as Kevin O'Leary likes to say it, every 3 months in your pocket. So how do you sort of in your mind with your strategy reconcile that that that's sort of a sound investment choice?
Yeah, I think that video came from some comments that I was receiving. And these comments were sort of people saying, you know, if you're dividend investing and you're primarily looking for dividend paying stocks, you are therefore ignoring some other good stocks out there. You know, basically, some people's ideology that you can't be interested in any stocks that show growth if you care about dividends. And like, I fundamentally disagree with that, right? You can have good quality dividend stocks that, you know, do grow over time. You don't have to have just dividend stocks that are trading like this that pay a good dividend yield. Like, you don't have to. There are so many stocks, and we can talk about some of them later on, I'm sure. You know, the Canadian bank stocks, right? They are fantastic dividend paying stocks, but they don't just trade sideways. You know, they do well over time. And that's the point I wanted to make. Like, my approach is that when I'm looking for a company, yes, I'm interested in dividends. Therefore, that is factoring into my decisions. But I'm not just picking the highest dividend yield stock and being done with it. I'm looking at, you know, does this company have a competitive moat? Does this company have a good balance sheet? Are they able to show capital appreciation over time? I'm looking at all of these factors when picking. And on top of that as well, my portfolio is not just purely dividend stocks. The majority are. But if I want to maybe put in a company that doesn't pay a dividend, like, I'm okay with that as well. But that's just a personal strategy for me. Like, I'm happy to get some of the capital appreciation without dividends, but also with dividends.
Cool.
Yeah, I think that's a great answer.
Yeah.
I don't know
Looks
if you
like,
guys
John
see
is
that as
freezing
well.
again.
I have a mixture. My portfolio
Justine,
has.
are you still with me here?
I'm here. Can you guys hear
I can
me?
hear you, Justine. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great answer.
Yeah, I mean, I have a mixed portfolio. So I do have individual. I mean, I do have individual stocks. I have dividend paying stocks. I have index funds, ETFs. So I've got the whole mixture in my financial portfolio. But what I do really enjoy about dividend stocks is and what got me attracted to them was the fact that it's that passive income, right? Like, that was what lured me in, because at the time I was thinking to myself, oh my gosh, I need to buy myself more time right now. And with dividend stocks, that was going to allow me to do that, along with just building wealth through investing. So, I mean, I hear you, Hayley. I think that's, I like your strategy. It's a good one.
I think as well, it's just, I'm sure, you know,
Yeah.
John, Dave, you can definitely agree with what we're saying here. It's so motivating, right? I'm getting such small dividends right now compared to a lot of people, but still every single month, I'm just excited to see if that's going to grow. Every single month, I just want to see what can come next. It's so motivating. And a lot of people might knock dividend investing for a lot of things, but one thing they can never knock it for is sometimes that makes people show up month after month, reinvesting those dividends, growing. That's got to be positive, right?
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what? Like, just to riff on that, like, you know, when you wake up and you either go on your Twitter and you see like BNN, CNBC, or you turn on the TV, you know, Bloomberg, whatever, and you see that company that you own, that you're a part owner of.
I think we're having problems with John's internet connection.
Yeah. John, come back.
He's freezing. Maybe
Yeah.
it's really cold
Business.
there.
The board has. Yeah.
I think we're having a
Connection
little
issues.
issue with your internet connection, John.
Yeah, I don't know why. It's maybe because I'm in Canada. I don't know.
Well, I'm in Canada also. I think mine's doing okay.
Yeah, I don't know. It's odd, but yeah, I'm on Zoom all day for work. And it doesn't happen. Of course, like when you really need it, like something like this, that's important.
Yeah.
It cuts us out a little bit, but yeah, just the excitement of getting those raises. And I fist bump. I go, it's 6:30, you know, EST in the morning. My house is asleep, but I don't care. Like, I still go, yes, you know, like a raise, you know, like it's so exciting. To your point, you know, like it's so gratifying.
Bell Canada gave us that raise earlier this week, John.
Yeah, 5.2%, I think, right?
Yeah, that was nice. I saw that on Twitter the morning. I think they announced it Wednesday after closing, but I didn't see it till Thursday morning when I was looking at Twitter. And I was happy. I mean, I don't own nearly as many Bell shares as you do, but hey, 5% is 5%, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. You know what I love about our community, especially like on Twitter, is that whether you post, hey, I just made $2.57 in Starbucks, or someone like, John, dude, bro, you are fucking killing it.
8K in January.
I know. It's like, yo, I'm gonna be like
What?
John. I'm gonna be like John. But whether you're making like 12,000 months in dividends or you're making $2.57 in Starbucks, like that money, the fact that you invested and that money just came over while you were sleeping is one of the most beautiful things and the most beautiful feelings. And until someone actually sees that and can appreciate the small cents that come in at the beginning of the journey, like they're in it for the long run. Because here's the deal. I see on my comments, if I post something on Divin, there's always that one fucking hater, right? Pardon my French. I hope you guys don't mind me swearing.
No,
But
be real. Be real.
yeah, I'm just going to keep it authentic because I do drop the F-bomb all the time. But there's always that one fucker who goes on there and says, that's it. And it's like, bro, at least it's something. Like, you don't know where, you don't know someone's journey. You don't know what the fuck they've been through in life. You don't know. You have no idea. So instead of like shitting on someone, let's just raise each other up. And so that's why whenever I go through my comments, I'm like, I just keep the positive ones, ignore the negative ones. And I just keep going because I'm sure, John, you didn't get to where you got today if you listened to every person that was like, oh, you only made $1 Canadian. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I think that's important too, is that we teach people that and like we remind them and let them know that you just stay laser focused and surround yourself with the right people. Because if you're surrounding yourself with the negative ones, you're going to eventually like start listening to them. And then you're going to, you know what I mean? It snowballs into something that may not be good. So I just wanted to share that because for anyone that's listening out there, just stay the course. Everyone's on a different journey. You don't need to compare. Instead, use it as like, dude, I'm going to be there with you. Like, let's do this together kind of mentality. Right. So,
And that $1 Canadian is a lot better than $0 of any other currency. Right. So,
right.
And that's where you start. I think you've probably all heard me say my Moneyball reference, just get on base, get started,
100%.
do what you've got to do to buy that first, 1 share, 5 shares, 10 shares, whatever company that you have done your research and due diligence that you want to invest in, whether it's a REIT, a bank, a energy stock, whatever.
Yeah.
Just get on base, just get on base, get started, because that first dollar is the most important dollar almost. I don't know if you would probably agree, John, that first dollar in dividends can be the most motivating thing. And I agree with you too, Justine. What you see on Twitter, somebody posts a $2.57, and for the most part, people are pumping them up saying, hey, that's great. Great, awesome, good for you. And then, you see people like John, Dividend Daddy, and my last guest, Sandstone Davy, who are just, killing it. And obviously Dream as well, just killing it, making, to the point where, Sandstone Davy has retired and just living off dividends. And that was a great conversation as well, because he's like, I'm using my dividends, but at the same time, I'm an income investor. So he's like, he's not spending all of his dividends. He's actually still making more, right? It's like, that's pretty incredible. And John, I know that you're still working, and you and I have talked that you're working because you like your job and you want to keep working. And somewhere down the road, whether it's 5, 8, 10 years, you're going to obviously get into that financial independence, retired early zone. So
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm starting to ramble here. If anybody else wants to pick up,
just you make a good point. I started with nothing, which is zero. I lost money in the market. Like some guy put me in, like a big guy in an investment bank put me in tech stuff, and it all went to crap. And I was so depressed and dejected. But like, I had someone who said, no, just get into dividends. And I remember when I was getting $5, $6, dividends, and I thought, this is it. I can't even buy a freaking ice cream cone, but whatever. But that, yeah.
Oh, did we lose John again?
John.
But then it does grow.
It does grow, yeah.
Obviously,
And
I
it's
have
truly
I have to
passive.
buy myself a better internet package or something.
Use a
Like a
dividend.
cheap ass over here. I don't know.
I think something to point out with dividend investing is that it's just truly passive. It's passive money. A lot of people talk about passive income and passive side hustles. I mean, yeah, they're passive in a way, but quite often a lot of them passive streams aren't passive truly. You know, a lot of effort has been put into them. And you've got to have the capital, obviously, to get yourself to a point where you're making any decent dividend income, but it's still passive. Like Justine was saying, it's so cool to go to bed, wake up and see a notification on your phone saying however much has come in. Incredible. And again, another reason why I think it's so motivating.
And I've made that point before as well, that to your point, Hayley, like, investing in physical real estate, it's somewhat passive. You can get away with doing next to nothing for a lot of days, but then there are days where the tenants are calling you, the property manager is calling you, whatever. But that's why I like to invest in REITs for that exposure to real estate. Is I still have the exposure to real estate, but I don't have the headaches of the landlord, right? So
That's true.
I think that's an extremely strong argument for REITs. It's
Yeah.
the strong. I see we have a guest from Hayley's channel.
We do.
Yeah, can you ask them which
Danny,
UK stocks they
hello.
have? They all seem American Canadian.
So guys, UK
Sorry.
Because we are American and
Sorry.
Canadian.
I like British beer. I mean,
British beer.
yeah. But I'm ignorant when it comes to
Interesting.
UK stocks, so please
Yeah.
go on.
I'm sorry,
Yeah, I
didn't
think
hear
John
that.
and I are both primarily in Canadian stocks, and I think Justine
Yeah.
is primarily in US stocks. So we wouldn't really have the greatest opinions on say whatever UK stocks that might be popular, or what is
Yeah.
British beer. That
I mean, Danny, I'm sure you know my portfolio and you know what sort of UK dividend stocks I have, but some big ones. Got Rio Tinto in there that has been going absolutely crazy recently, like a lot of similar stocks. What else we've got? We've got Unilever, we've got Legal and General. You know my portfolio, I'm sure, Danny.
So sorry we couldn't expand on that more, Danny, but we can definitely educate you on some Canadian and US companies. You probably know quite a few of the US companies, but
Yeah.
I mean,
when we've got a chance, I'd love to ask you guys a question actually about Canadian stocks.
sure, I like this. I started with nothing. I still have most of it left. Go for it, Hayley. What would you like to ask about Canadian?
So, Canadian bank stocks in particular, obviously, no one can deny how amazing they have been. My question is, do you know why the Canadian bank stocks have been able to, one, show growth, capital appreciation, two, they've continually paid a good dividend, and three, they've been able to, most of them, been able to grow that dividend over time? Like, what are they doing differently to other financial stocks around the world? Like, why are they doing so well? Like, what's their secret? Do any of you guys know?
I'm
Like
listening.
the comment says,
Yeah,
Canadian
I wanna
banks,
know.
John's wheelhouse.
Tell us, gentlemen.
Warren Buffett says a great company grows their revenue and their EPS consistently. There's going to be blips, right? But 2008, 15, COVID, but generally it goes up like that. And the Canadian banks have found a way through increasing their prices, scaling their business. You got, Bank of Nova Scotia has expanded into South America. You have TD with as many branches now in the US, if not more,
So many.
than in Canada.
Yeah.
You got, I know Harris Bank, part of Bank of Montreal. They just find a way to snap up these little banks along the way. They acquire things along the year, and that's a business that scales, right?
Yeah, definitely. With Royal Bank also recently acquiring the Canadian portion of HSBC as well. So like just as to John's
So,
point of
they're able to
acquiring.
get, it's acquiring and scaling more profits, rewarding shareholders with larger dividend raises makes you stay a loyal shareholder, not wanting to bail. When you keep getting that, and by the way, dividends are a commitment to future, right? It's nothing to do with the present. Company votes to give a dividend increase. That's looking, I don't know, a year, 2 years out. So that's great forecasting. They know what future revenues are going to be because they got pipelines of plans of growing their earnings. That's sort of is that a decent answer, Hayley?
That's a really good answer. Yeah. It's only because when I was looking into the Canadian bank stocks and comparing them with some of the UK ones, you know, we've got some decent ones here. We've obviously got like HSBC, we've got Lloyd's, we've got some other ones. But if you start diving deeper into it and you just one factor, for example, the dividend growth over time, quite a lot of the UK bank stocks cut their dividends and then they increase them again and then they cut them and they're a bit all over the place. So when I was looking at some of the Canadian banks, I was just amazed. Like, this is amazing. I was thinking, where is the floor here? But they just seem to be incredible.
It's also in the regulation, much like sort of the regulation that wasn't there, I think, in the United States with all the mortgage and the issues that happened there with people getting houses who really shouldn't have been afforded mortgages. It's, you know, people said it's my right to own a home, but, you know, and people were getting rich bonuses by giving out mortgages and whatnot. There's a really strict regulation, organizational body here that is very, very stringent with rules. You mentioned HSBC. Royal Bank of Canada, I believe, is the one that just bought out HSBC Canada, which is like sort of another example of gobbling up, scaling. Scotia a few years ago bought out, was it ING Direct? You know, there's so many examples of that. And they just... pricing power. We only have 6 banks in Canada, really the big ones, and they've been around since the 1800s. It's like if they've been doing business since like 1829, 1850, and rewarding shareholders, I have more confidence in a bank like that than one that's just been around for 20, 30 years.
Yeah. John, I have a question.
The comment on screen there, I was just going to say that Hayley, that's a future YouTube video idea for you. What's the benefit to UK buyers to buy Canadian stocks rather than US stocks? Because I don't think any of us would have an answer for that right now. But so Hayley, do some research and put out a video on that one.
I'll have to think how to title that for search. But yeah, I mean, we have to pay withholding tax on US stocks. So I guess it's similar to Canadian, but something to look into.
Cool. Isn't it to do with the global exposure? HSBC has performed well where others like Barclays and Lloyd's haven't. So I think that's actually exactly what John was just touching on there as well, like the Canadian banks acquiring more assets. I'm not really familiar. Well, obviously I know what Barclays and Lloyd's of London are, but I'm not really familiar with their whole structure and what they own or what they're into or where they have exposure or anything like that. Another comment: in a globalized world, I think it is important to be somewhere you get the best out of tax bonuses for investing in access stocks from firms that operate worldwide and not just at a national level. Yeah, again, so that's why so many of us are familiar with so many of those U.S. companies like your Starbucks and Johnson & Johnson's and Procter & Gamble's. And, again, the Canadian banks are operating globally as well. I think that's a great point. We live in a global village. Like right now, look at this, the 4 of us from 3 different countries, just having a great discussion.
Yeah.
Let's bring Justine back into this.
You know what? I actually did have a question for John. If you are someone who's looking into investing, right, in first time investing into the Canadian banks, are there a few that you would recommend for a first time investor?
I like Bank of Montreal right now because it has a return of equity of 21%. I know Warren Buffett talks about he likes to have companies that have at least 15%. The other ones are around the 15, 16%, but BMO is at 21%, and I think that's really attractive. The PE is, I don't know, I haven't checked it recently, but it's under 10. So you're getting like a great business at a fair price. And so, yeah, that's just, and I have a question for you, Justine, if that's okay, if I just flip it around.
Yeah, sure.
I think what you're doing is so noble, educating people on finances, and it's so important. And I always wished I had someone like you, like come to me, like when I was in school, younger, like who could have directed me around like the right path of investing rather than trying to get rich quick with rocket stocks and what have you. How are you sort of building out your course or your strategy for like going to people, like whether it's in junior school, high school, college, like so that you get them before they screw it all up and lose their cash?
Right.
And that's the next point we're going to talk about, Justine. I have it in my notes. Talk to Justine, teaching high school students financial literacy.
I didn't mean to hijack your MC thing, but
I think John's frozen again. Let's go to Justine and let's get into that discussion about teaching the high school kids the financial literacy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let me just say before you answer, Justine, sorry, I was just going to do a little disclaimer so that none of us get sued. None of us are giving licensed financial advice to anyone. This is for entertainment purposes only. Consult a tax accountant, financial planner, financial advisor, what have you. Don't take any of our advice with stock names or anything like that. And if you do and you lose money, well, it's on you. It's not on us. Okay.
Love that, John.
Not financial advice. We're just people having a conversation.
Yeah, right. For entertainment purposes and educational purposes.
There you go.
No. I love that you did that, John. We all forgot about that for a split second. So you got us. You got us. So the financial education space. For me, and working with students, right? As a former teacher, one of the biggest things is these kids, especially when they're in middle school and they're high school, they're still trying to figure out who they are, right? Shit. I'm still trying to figure out pieces of myself that you get what I'm saying? Like it's an ongoing process, but just imagine you've got this 14-year-old ninth grader, right? At least here in the States, ninth grade starts, high school starts when you're 14 years old, 13, and you're still trying to figure out like what you like, what you dislike, what you want to learn, who you want to be, how you want to show up to this world, right? So for me, something that I focus on at the very beginning of my program is the financial psychology and your mindset. Because here's the thing, at the end of the day, you can have someone come up to me like, Justine, teach me how to make that money. How do I file taxes? Because I had high school students ask me that, Justine, how do I file taxes? How do I pay rent? And as important as that is, if your mindset isn't right, that you're not going to process and you're not really going to truly understand what it means, why budgeting is important, why you have to pay your taxes or how you can pay less taxes, things like that, right? So for me, a good chunk, like the first part of my program is focusing on that financial psychology, understanding your why, understanding and letting you know that your money is working for you, right? And that you do not need to trade your time for money. So that for me is like, I'm in your head about that. And I tend to repeat myself. I bring it back. I tie my lessons in a way to always circle back to paying yourself first, right? Surrounding yourself with the right people that are going to uplift you. I did this. I'll give like an example. I did last year. A couple months ago, I did a presentation for 400 seniors. And I know Dave, John, you guys have seen that. I posted it. 400 seniors. And they were talking, they were yapping, but there were some of them that were completely zoned in, like laser focused on me. And what I told them this, I was like, right now, you guys, I'm going to teach you financial lesson number 2, because number 1 is to pay yourself first. But number 2, I want you to look in front of you. I want you to look at the person next to you, left and right, and the person behind you. Because guess what? 99% of them are not going to be there 5 years from now. So who you're surrounding yourself with and who you're choosing your circle to be with is going to greatly impact your financial journey, whether you want to believe it or not. And so it's things like that I'm like honing in on, and I'm talking about that importance, because it's not just the technical aspect of how to budget, what is compound interest, because I do cover that, of course, but that doesn't come until later, until they're in their head about their financial mindset. Does that make sense? So for me, and depending on the age group and depending on the grade level, because it's different. If I'm working with seniors, then a lot of those kids here in the US, many of them start working at 15 and a half years old. They can legally start working at 15 and a half, 16 years old to get a work permit. So if I'm working with 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds, 18-year-olds, then it's a different, I'll tweak the workshop, the program so that it fits these students who are teenagers who are working. But for me, I have a lot of fun doing it. I really enjoy working with students, and I wish I had someone talking to me and telling me, like, Justine, don't open that fucking credit card, girl. Don't do it. Don't do it. I wish someone told me, because I didn't learn until after the fact. And then from there, it's like a lot of cleanup. But I think there's a lesson in that as well, that it's okay to make mistakes, you guys. It's okay. Just don't dwell on it. Learn from them. They're great opportunities to become better. So did that answer your question? It seemed like
hell yeah. That was a great answer.
Like I went all over the place.
No, your passion is so present, like, and that's what, the world wants, is they want passion about a subject, because you're going to be authentic and you're going to deliver it with so much enthusiasm, and people are going to learn from you. That's the bottom line.
Thank you. I hope so. I was actually talking to Dr. Dividend on Twitter. We recorded an episode as well on his podcast yesterday. It's been a weekend with y'all, with all these great people. It's fucking awesome. But I was talking to him and I was telling him that, you know what, if I can touch one life, I'm touching one person's universe, right? Because their one soul is so attached to so many different aspects, and so many different people and sectors and whatnot. And if I can touch one life, I think that's a win for me, because then I'm touching their universe, So
that's awesome. I love what you're doing, Justine, because obviously, we talk so much about how financial literacy is not there in the school system. And so the fact that you're going out to these teenagers and young adults and making sure they're at least getting the information that they need. And the information is now there. Like, John and I are old enough to remember when the information was not available. We didn't have the internet. We didn't have cell phones.
I'm not that old, man. What do you think?
Yeah.
John, I know how old you are.
I think it's one of my things, and you guys please chime in, but I think on this, what your thoughts are on this, but I think that it's really important that, yes, we teach that technical aspect to our youth, right? About budgeting, compound interest, all of that, the technical pieces. But I think it's also, or if not, it's just as important to remind them that they don't need to be at a job for 65 years of their life, right? Or 40 years of their life. And I don't know what work-life balance is like in Canada or in the UK, so please enlighten me. But here in the US, we often find so many of our people, right? They are literally working their 9 to 5s until they get to 65. And that, by the way, it's not even the retirement age here anymore. It's like 67. But then they spend maybe 15 years of their life, like enjoying life. And so for me, my message to kids is like, listen, you guys, like it's important for you to remember that that time is your most important currency. And that is something that is never going to be like, it only comes to you once. Like that second that we just had literally 2 seconds ago, it's gone, right? We can't take that back. And so I want to put that in our youth's minds, that you don't need to work your whole life to enjoy retirement at the end. There is passive income, there is dividend investing, so there's ways that you can retire early, as they say. But I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but that's something that I want to change in the mindsets of our youth.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Take a couple of comments here. Hayley, I love this word, so I'm going to read this comment. It's my favorite British slang. My February dividend income was a total of £1. I just had to say
£1.
quid.
It's funny that you say that. I don't ever say it, but I know that you like the word. So yeah, in a British accent, was a total of £1. But you know what, Ian? That's like you're starting, and that's the most important thing. And February for me as well is a really weak month just because of the stocks that I have. Like I might not even be getting any dividend income, but that's not going to put me off. Next year I probably will. And it's just about, like the average over the year going up over time. So try not to get sad about just 1 month being
No,
lower than another.
that £1, that £1 is a lot more than zero, right? It's a lot more than
Exactly.
zero. Just get on
Way
base.
more.
Just get started.
Yeah.
And I'm going to give John a shout out here because somebody asked, best book to educate yourself on in investing. That would be called Too Rich to Be Stressed by Dividend John. Link in the description.
No. Okay. I did write a book. It is on Amazon. It's got some good reviews. It's now on Audible, coming onto Apple iTunes this week. But no, it's my message to the world of what I've been through, how I'm now at 68,000 plus in dividend income, and it's growing. And now that we're getting into the later stage, it's going to compound, right? It's going to get to 100 grand, hopefully real soon and whatnot and beyond. That's the idea. Is it's like, yeah, do I want to retire at 65? No, I want to retire earlier, have more time with my family, have more time to play tennis, have more time to sit by a pool and sip a pina colada, have more money to give like $200 tip at a restaurant to to a server, just to give out random money to people like on the streets. Like that's what I want. Like I want to share my resources with the world and share kindness and goodness. And like I do a little bit now, but the more I can accumulate in a fair, honest way, the more people I can help. Right? That's for me a big part of dividend investing too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
I want to bump into I want to bump into you on the street. You can hand me some money. I'm joking.
Yeah, so just to answer this question, very similar here in Canada and the US, where the financial literacy is just not taught in schools as it should be. I do see I'm falling behind on the comments here, so yeah, this is awesome. It's been, well, we're still going here. Very fun conversation. Loving having all of you. I'm loving this international aspect. All the different time zones too. For Hayley, it's getting on towards 6 p.m. John and I are just afternoon, and Justine's still in the morning. So
I'm still on my cup of coffee. Yeah.
I've already been through 2 coffees and half of a rock star. So.
But sorry, I didn't mean to be evasive. I loved Richest Man of Babylon. Was a great book. The Intelligent Investor, Ben Graham, and it's a little bit dry, but there's some really good points in there. But Automatic Millionaire was great too. Barber, what's the Barber one?
The Wealthy Barber.
Thank you, Wealthy Barber. I love that. I loved it so much I forgot the title, but it was great.
Yeah. Wealthy Barber was the very first investing book I read way back in the early 90s. And the number one thing I took from that, and I still say it every day, well, not every day, but you think about it every so often, like very often, because you see it on Twitter a lot, but it was pay yourself first. Pay yourself first. Out of every paycheck, whether, you put $10, $25, $50 or 50 quid out of that paycheck, and just put that into your investing account. And over time, you're going to probably get paid every 2 weeks like most people. And over time, that 10, 25, 50 of whatever currency you're in is going to add up. And, you're going to start to, get into those dividend paying stocks as well. So then the money keeps growing, the snowball effect. And yeah, pay yourself first was definitely the number one thing I took from reading The Wealthy Barber. Oh, geez, John, nearly over 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And that's a non-negotiable for me. Paying yourself first, that I take as important as maybe slightly less as paying my rent. I sort of put it on that level. That's going to come out straight away. It's not going to be there for a few weeks, and then if I don't want to buy new clothes, I'll put it into non-negotiable every single month.
Good
Look,
for
the
you.
government has it right. The government takes money right off the top.
Yeah.
They rip you off with 30, 40, 50%. So we got to set aside, whether it's 10, 15, 20% automatically. For me, it's every Friday, something goes into my brokerage account. Then on the 30th of the month, I just buy stock, whatever one I'm flavor of the month, whatever, which, I'm doing. And it's just systematic. It's automatic, and that's how you become, let's face it, a millionaire. You automate the process.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Is there an equivalent of an ISA in Canada? I think I don't know what an ISA is, but I'm guessing a TFSA here in Canada.
I think so.
Tax-free?
A tax efficient way of investing, a tax
Right.
efficient account where you get a certain amount tax free.
Yeah.
That would be
We have that.
tax-free savings account as a TFSA.
6,500 max this year. Used to be 6, and it was fine. I think it's been around for, Dave. How long has it been around?
2006.
Yeah.
Or 7. And it started at 5,000 and then went to for a couple of years, and then 5,500 and then 6,000, then it's up to 6,500. But that's retroactive. Right? So if you were to start right now with 0 in that account, I think the total contribution is up to, I would guess, about 95 grand before you have it maxed out.
It's supposed to.
John, come back.
Yeah, and he's gone
Be a
again.
tax-free savings account, but there's a. Yeah, so I don't know how much you caught that, but some guy was day trading out of that tax-free savings account up to $2.5 million, and he's going to court.
Oh, I hadn't heard that one yet. I'll look that one up. And
yeah, they're trying to tax him. He's like, no, it's tax-free. You said, the government said. He's like, yeah, but it's not supposed to be day trading.
Right, interesting. Great stream, thank you. Yes, great conversation with great people. Like I've already mentioned a couple times, great international flavor. Really enjoying all of this. Really enjoying so much of the audience from Hayley's channel. If anyone is watching from my channel, please subscribe to Hayley's channel. You can easily find her. Again, link in the description. Also, link in the description for Justine's blog. So I have everyone's links in the description below. And for those of you watching from Hayley's channel, please feel free to subscribe to the Passive Income Podcast as well.
Yeah. Yep, go for it, guys. Great dividend chat, as all of you love. So, yeah, why not? Circling back, Dave, I just saw a question about an ETF. What's everyone's favorite ETF? I think it was. Did you see that one?
Oh, sorry. Did I go through it too quickly?
Yeah, it came up and I was about to answer it and then it went.
Sorry. I was just going to say, as you were shouting out my channel, just to let your audience know, I've had over 40. I think the last one was 40, guest number 41 in just 4 months. So there's a lot of conversations. John's been on in the past, Justine's been on in the past, and Hayley is actually going to be on doing a one-on-one coming up in the future.
Awesome.
So favorite ETF?
I think for me, it's VUSA, which is the UK equivalent, if you will, of VOO. VOO. Exactly the same, basically. I think that would be my answer.
And so I'm going to piggyback off that. My favorite ETF is VOO.
Yep.
So, yeah.
And John, you're not into any ETFs, if I recall correctly.
Yeah. You know what? I got nothing against them. I just always was into, I always say I have my own ETF. I created the Dividend John ETF, which is my basket of stocks. Nothing against. I just like to have individual companies rather than have someone else. I'm a micromanager, type A. I want to decide what I'm holding rather than someone else. But hey, that's just a personal preference. I know the people who run them mostly are very intelligent, very bright people, and they balance and rebalance. Just not my thing, not my jam.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I have a couple, but I'm not heavily into them either. I'm learning from people like John to focus more on great dividend growth companies like the Canadian banks, the Canadian telecoms, and some of the others. What happened to parents educating their children? I think this is going back to the TFSA, any unused contribution from prior years. If you were 18 in 2009 and never contributed, you'd have a contribution room of 80K. Yeah, so I guess you have to be 18 to start that TFSA as well. I hope this person is referring to the TFSA in Canada.
Dave, can I interrupt? Is it cool? I actually want to speak to that parent comment. What happened to parents educating their kids? I think there's a lot of factors that go into that. I am not. Oh no! What is that noise? No, John's gone.
John, no. He'll be back.
He'll be back. He'll be back.
He'll be back. Oh, hold on.
There
He's
he
back.
is.
Oh my God, my internet.
It's okay.
That's
John.
odd because the last time you and we had perfect connection the entire hour we were on.
I know.
So Justine was just talking about this comment, what happened to parents educating their children.
Yeah. And I think, one of the things that I would like to say is that your parents do not know everything. And your parents grew up at a different time. They grew up, I'm going to say this right now. My parents, immigrant parents from the Philippines, they came here to the United States. So my brother and I are first generation. They come from small villages in the Philippines. And I'm so grateful that they were able to make it here in America. But do you know what they taught me and my brother? They taught us how to save.
Yeah.
And that was fucking it. That was it. Save, 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 save. There was no investing talk. How did I learn about a credit card? I was 18 years old. I went to a Macy's and they fucking sold me at the register by saying, save 15% by opening this credit card. Bought the Macy's card, went home, and my mom was like, why did you do that? So it's like, I could be mad at my mom and dad for not teaching me about investing, but at the same time, how does that serve me, right? Like, so that's why it's so important to self-educate and, again, to put yourself out there and to be willing to learn from others, from mentors, from someone else. Because if you're over here blaming your parents for your situation, that's going to prevent you from growing and really truly developing and understanding that you can be more than what your parents have taught you. So for me, you can tell I'm really passionate about this because at the end of the day, like, you can't blame your parents for your situation. There are certain things that maybe they did teach you, they didn't teach you, but at the end of the day, you have the choice to change your life, to self-educate and put yourself out there. So trust me, not every parent knows about investing. Yeah. People aren't born into wealth. Not many people are born into wealth or born into that. And in fact, you know what? I'll say this and then I'll stop because I'm very passionate about this. There was a time in my life where I hated talking about money. And you know why I hated it? Because I was taught to save. And every time I was taught to save, I saw my savings not really grow. Right? So it's kind of like, oh my God, I've been saving for X amount of years, but why is it still so low? Look at all these rich people. I fucking hate them. And whenever they would talk about money, I was so angry inside. And then it took a lot of pain. It took a lot of hard lessons in learning in my financial mistakes for me to realize, like, oh my God, the reason why I don't like money is because I'm not good with myself. Like, I was angry at the fact of blaming everybody else for my situation. And then I realized, like, no, if I want to build my money, how do I make more money? Start Googling, start reading, start listening, right? So I think we can't blame our families, you guys. You got to be the new trailblazer in changing your story. You're your own writer. You got to change that fucking narrative. Okay, I'm done. Thank you. Sorry.
I love that.
I'm just super fucking passionate and like.
No, it's important. And what you said about like being taught to save, that was similar to me. And I think that there's a real point here in the fact that there's an opportunity to self-educate. And if you want to learn, the resources are now out there for free. And, if you've come from a family that maybe isn't as well off as other families, you can actually break that generational wealth cycle. You can make something of yourself financially, and you can start with very little. You can start with a very average salary, reinvest your dividends, keep going over decades and decades. And actually, you could be a millionaire. Right. Yeah, you can be a millionaire. And that's crazy. And I think it's really hard to actually see that link when you're just starting out. But we've got people like John who have proven how you can grow it. And it's important,
Mhm.
Thank you. And I'll
Mhm.
just say, you know, we in a neighborhood where it was rough. I was surrounded by a lot of. I'm not going to give my whole sob story, but I was going to a private school, but on subsidy, and my Tuesday, and we were having like leftovers. So much so that like at the grocery stuff at the cash because we couldn't afford, and she would cry,
Yeah.
and sometimes some guy was behind would pay, for like an 8, 9, 10, 11, 12-year-old to go through that. But for me, it fire in my stomach. Like, no, I want more. I'm not going to blame you guys. Yeah, there was a time when I had some anger. Okay, they tried their best for whatever reason, didn't work out. I'm going to make it so that when I'm older and I've got a family, that's never freaking going to happen at a grocery. So I, like you said, educated myself as best I could. At first, I thought it was going to be stock trading my way to. I created a different path, but it's truly the idea of, like you said, start, right? You can make
Just
the
get on
US,
base.
Get on base.
yeah, UK, Canadian average salary, whatever it is, you will not miss the 10%, 15%. You'll be like, holy crap, like it's like a few $100 missing. Someone ripped me off. Someone stole money. No, a little bit that's going to your future self, right? And yeah, you might feel that pinch in the beginning. The system just adjusts to that money. And when you get a raise at work, when you get that little, your boss, or you change jobs, what have you, and you get that bump up, don't do lifestyle creep, Louis Vuitton, whatever. I mean, sure, you want to treat yourself, fine, but make sure that you increase your savings and investing rate as well.
Yeah, 100%.
Just to this comment, don't worry, Canadian taxes are killing us as well. Justine, I don't know, are American taxes killing you also?
Don't taxes kill everyone,
Yeah.
Death and taxes, my friends. Yeah. But that's the thing here. I don't know about in the UK or in Canada, but in the US, we are taught to hate the wealthy, right? Because they get all these tax breaks. Like I don't know if I'm gonna ruffle some feathers right now, but we are taught. Because I used to be like that. Like I look at them, look at all the money that they have. But what I didn't understand is them building a business was help them lower their taxes, right? Like, so it's things like that. And we're not taught that in school. We're not taught that. We're taught to be put in the rat race, and there you are, stuck, right?
You sound like Robert Kiyosaki right now.
Rich dad, poor dad.
Yeah,
I
talks
mean,
a lot about that, right?
And you don't realize it until you're pissed off and you're angry and you're just sitting there thinking like, how is this? Why? I don't get it. How tax the rich more, right? They're saying that tax them more, but really it's like, yo, they're their own boss. How do I get there?
Yeah,
Change your mind.
Use them as
Don't hate the rich.
inspiration.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, learn. How does someone like Trump? Okay, I'm not talking political here. Like whether you like him, you don't like him. My reality is, like, there was a time when people were like, "Oh, he doesn't pay taxes," but he has all these properties, and all the workers that were like working everything. He could write all that off and bring his income. It wasn't him. It was the accountants that he hired. Like, I don't know if it was legal, whatnot, but like that's what you can do when you have a business. You can write things off.
Yeah. I mean, you know what, John? I'm glad you said that because y'all just do it the ethical way, right? Live your life in truth and honesty and integrity. Of course, there's some shady ass motherfuckers out there in this world, but John, I'm glad you said that. I don't know what Trump did. I don't know, friends. I don't know, nor do I am I interested in that piece, but I think just living an honest life with integrity and doing the right thing is what is going to get you to where you truly need to be, right? So I'm glad you mentioned that because do it legally, y'all. Do it legally.
Right.
I do like this comment from Chris.
Jealousy.
I do like this comment. Don't hate the rich, learn from them.
Yeah.
So,
No,
and I also
in life, don't be jealous. Just work hard, do smart, build yourself up. Don't tear other people down in life, you know?
Yeah.
And when you, by the way, when you share your resources, there's this karmic way that things come back to you tenfold. And you don't do a nice gesture because you're going to get everybody who's watching, and you guys will attest to this, that when you put goodness and kindness in the world, there's just religious, whatever have you, humanistic way, that good stuff just find for good.
Karma, right? You do something good, good karma comes back. You do something bad, bad karma comes back. It's
There you go.
literally that simple. I do want to thank Danny, one of from Hayley's audience, for being very active in the chat. So yeah, thank you, Danny.
Hey,
Danny's
Danny,
great.
what's
Yes,
up?
Hayley, you're making it big going on all these cool podcasts. Awesome. Yeah. I know we could all talk about dividend investing and investing in general all day, every day. And I do see that we're coming up close to an hour already. I'll keep going if you want to, but I know other people probably have other commitments. It's still early in the day for Justine. She probably wants to get things done. Hayley's probably thinking about cooking dinner.
And I got to take my kids soon.
Yeah.
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 All the family commitments. Couple more comments here before we sign off. Tax efficiency is an important part of personal finance education. There are many perfectly ethical and legal ways of making your money go further.
Yeah. I love that. Bean Count 811. Love it.
Great name.
I know. Like, I love it.
Honestly, the education system is designed to produce workers and slaves for businesses. They don't teach people to be free. Yeah, you can kind of argue that both ways. I get the point that, you know, they're really, the education system is just there to educate people enough to become the worker bee, right? Anyways, with that said, before we all sign
Dave,
off,
I'm going to cut you off. Dave, here's what my mind's bothering me a little bit is just sometimes I feel a little bit shady about like my monthly income, because sometimes I feel like maybe I'm giving the impression that I'm trying to show off or something like that. It's not. I'm proud of it, but it's not my motivation. I would never. That's not my. I really am trying to show anyone who's starting, middle of their journey, what have you. I start this, and you can build it up. You can get to where I am in your 40s, and then beyond. About my personality, that I'm not doing it to be an ass or like that. So I just want to share that.
yeah, and I've said to you in the past too, John.
You don't
Your
come off
tweets definitely do not come off as bragging. They come off as very inspirational. Very much so. Your tweets say, "Listen, if I can do it, so can you." You're
And
like,
I'm
I'm just an
inspired.
ordinary, average person, just like
Thank
you,
you.
and if I can do it, so can you. So, I definitely take your tweets as inspiration more than anything else,
100%.
and I'm no Hayley and
Thank you, guys.
Justine would agree with me.
100%.
Thank you.
Yeah. 100%.
You know what? I do have to talk about, John. We're gonna put you and I on the back shelf here for a second, because it's been an absolute struggle to get women as guests on the Passive Income podcast, and I have two here today from two different countries. So let's just let Hayley and Justine have a back and forth about about the female perspective, about women in finance, and I'm just going to throw it over to you two and let you two have your own discussion. John,
Yeah.
have a sip of something. Have a sip of your coffee.
I mean, I'll kick it off. I completely agree. There just seems to be, I don't want to say a lack of, because I'm sure there's more out there that I've seen, but just from the YouTube side of it, there are very, very few and far between female investors talking about their experience. And I don't know why that is. And I can take a guess as to why that is, just by, history of men being in charge of finances, so on and so forth. But yeah, one of my main motivations is to inspire more women, more young women to get into investing, for sure. And I don't know if you see a similar thing, Justine, even around in your personal life.
Oh, I do.
Yeah.
I do. I mean, I think, one of the main reasons, and okay, so I'll share a little story, everyone. When I was 14 years old, I went to the Philippines. And when I was in the Philippines, I remember being in a room in the hotel lobby having breakfast with my family. And there were, I saw this young Filipina, young, like super young. and she was with this much older gentleman, right? Much older gentleman who was not Filipino. And I remember thinking, like, that looks so strange. Like, that does not look right. And so I started, and the reason why was because of the major age discrepancy, like massive age discrepancy. So I started thinking, like, what is going on here? I soon later found out that a lot of Filipino families, even though they don't want to, they let their young women marry into a wealthier non-Filipino family, right? And on top of that, many of the Filipinos, they leave the country to become overseas workers in other countries, which is why you see so many of us, like in the US, you see them in Spain, you see them in Saudi Arabia, you see them fucking all over the world, right? Because they're these overseas workers, and they take that money and they send it over to their families that they left in the Philippines. And I remember thinking to myself, like, oh my gosh, how do I tell this young Filipina that it doesn't have to be that way? Now, I'm not saying that I'm going to change this, like, this culture, this thing that was taught for generations, right? That's not what I'm trying to say. But for me, I was thinking, I was like, as a Filipina, right, as a woman of color, how can I help other women that look like me? How can I help women with their personal finance? How can I empower them to let them know, like, hey girl, you can do this, and it doesn't need to be this way, right? Like, changing that narrative of this is what I have to do to saying, like, this is what I can do. I'm so capable. So for me as a woman, that I'm very passionate about helping female investors, helping any investor, but really I would love to see more women in the investing space and letting them know that, hey, you are totally capable. You are so completely deserving of making that money, right? And that you do not need to depend on someone. Instead, you are with that person because you want to be with that person. Does that make sense? So just building like healthier narratives around that conversation is really important.
Well, okay, that was so inspirational and so beautiful. And what I want to tell you is a couple of things, okay, as well. Wow, that was just a lot to digest, but like that, we can't like cure world hunger overnight. We can't cure cancer overnight. Is like one action at a time. So what you're doing with education is huge, because, well, how can you scale your education? Well, you know, the Alex Hormozi, author and says the phrase, the riches are in the niches, right? What if you had a business, which is a strategy already, where you educated Filipino women, but also who are abroad, how to invest their money? Because I can tell you, there are a lot of live-in nannies who have agents, and what they're doing is this agent advisor and taking cuts and doing unethical crap, like, and they're not. I'm just thinking, like, you could like have this whole market and you'd be doing good as well, because instead of just saying that's great, you could also teach them how to open up a brokerage account, how to invest, buy index, ETF, stock. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, I love that, John. It's definitely something that's been floating in the back of my mind. Is, especially, okay, sorry, I know we're kind of going over time, but I will say this. When I was at one of the schools, and I was like sharing my story, I was introducing myself, this and that, I was like, okay, any Filipinos up in here? And there were like 5 students in a crowd of like 300. 5 of them, and you could hear them in the crowd, and they're like, woo, screaming, like, woo, cheering. I was like, that's what's up. Like, just know that you've got a sister here. You've got a sister, right? So for me, it's like there's something so powerful and so beautiful being able to be like a role model, but also just to be someone that they can come to if they have any questions. And John, it's floated my mind because the principal pulled me aside after that meeting and said, maybe I can get you to work with our Filipino community. and it's a really small one at that school compared to, because it's a massive school, but it's a very small Filipino community. So that's like in the works as well. So I appreciate you saying that, John, and for that, because I think it's a great idea. Yeah.
I do just want to answer Chris's question about the screen names. So no, I don't believe either John or Justine have YouTube channels. You can find Justine on Twitter and Instagram, I believe, at Ms. Financial Fit. And Dividend John on Twitter is actually at JohnnyBoy1853.
Yeah, and you can find him on Amazon as well.
Link in the description. Link in the description for Justine's blog and Hayley's channel as well. I think a lot of you already know Hayley from her YouTube channel and her Twitter account as well. And then that's my Twitter handle on screen at Lovey1973. And of course, you have been listening to and watching another incredible conversation on the Passive Income Podcast, International Edition, February live panel. This has been absolutely amazing. John, it looks like you switched to your phone and the internet has been way better since. So that's...
Sorry about that, guys. With my ASCII connection originally for my laptop. I don't know.
Yeah, that's weird. But anyways, I'm glad we figured it out. When you switched over to your phone, it seemed to work quite well. But I just wanted to say thank you to each and every one of you. And is there anything anybody wants to say before we sign off?
Just a big thank you. Let's just keep talking about investing. Let's keep, trying to educate, inspire. Just even if we reach one person a day, like we can make a real difference, and we already are.
Yes, I love that. And I would add, piggyback, stay curious.
Yeah.
Stay curious. You hear something, Google it.
You don't have to be an expert to start.
Yep. Stay curious.
Hey, thanks for joining us, Chris. Enjoyable stream. Check out the Twitter and YouTube and possibly the Amazon book. And John, it's only 99 cents on Kindle, right? So you can afford the 99 cents.
Make it affordable and free if you have an Audible membership. And never stop learning. Keep growing. Keep expanding your mind. Read,
100%.
learn. And as Albert Einstein said, compounding interest is the eighth wonder of the world, and it is male, female, gender non-binary, any color. This is math that is there, equal. It's equitable. We can all become very wealthy with dividend investing. Okay.
And I said that to Justine in our last, when we had the podcast, and John pointed it out, and I was like, wow, you were still listening 55 minutes into that conversation, because I said to Justine, the stock market doesn't care if you're, white, Asian, black, male, female, gay, straight. The stock market doesn't care. Just it's the most inclusive club in the world. Anyone can join. So when is the next podcast? I do have several pre-recorded. Well, I will be pre-recording several more in February. I think at least 10, maybe 11 more. So there will be lots more uploaded during the month of February, including Hayley coming up at I'd have to check the calendar, February 24th or 5th in that time.
Something like that.
In there.
End of month. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, thank you everyone for coming on, and we will see you in the next. We'll see you wherever we see you, on Twitter, on YouTube. Thank you so much to everyone, and we'll let Danny have the last word here. See you guys. That was awesome.
Thank you so much for putting this together, Dave.
Thanks,
Dave. Yeah, thank you.